For the first part, Fateme is going to present some of the initial findings that we have in one of the surveys that we are running the global level. And many of you are already involved in that survey. Fateme, are you with us right now?
Yeah. Do you have my voice and is it okay?
Yes, perfectly well.
Yeah, thank you, Hamid. Hello, everyone. It's my huge honor to be a part of this gathering today. This is Fateme Abolghasemi. I'm a senior medical student at Mashhad University of Medical Sciences from Iran, actually, and also ISAM-GEN and ISAM Council officer. The reason I'm here today is to give you a brief report on ISAM-GEN ongoing project, the global survey on treatment service provision for opioid use disorder. First up, I'm gonna give you a brief background about ISAM-GEN on the pilot survey in ISAM-GEN protocol, alongside with the methodology, initial results, and the road we had ahead of us. Here you can see ISAM Global Experts Network structure. As Arash mentioned before, there are defined actually iterative ways of recruiting experts all around the world using ISAM prior human resources, and then adding up to it in various repetitive pathways. Then regional communities and discipline committees are formed with an eye toward developing multi-center projects within themes and actually regions. Here is the protocol paper based on which surveys in ISAM-GEN are ran, and the preprint is available on SARC archive at the moment, and you can scan the QR code to get to know about precise details on the methodological investigations. More on the protocol, let's start with the pilot survey. Initially, we chose an universal and prevalent issue of concern in addiction medicine, opioid use, concentrating on treatment services. And for the first step, we ran a pilot survey to evaluate the processes we are going through, what platforms works best for us, the type of questions we'd rather ask, check for the response rates and the reliability of answers, and etc. The pilot survey was then designed in two distinct phases, both on treatment and service provision for opioid use disorders. And we have already gone through the first phase within the contact point of the societies. We are now planning to run the second phase and also the expert-centered survey in the upcoming weeks, actually. The first phase asks more generalized questions, while the second is more detailed, asking is actually the one which is more detailed, asking deeper questions, actually, but still on the same topic. For the methodological process, firstly, we had to actually form the initial questionnaire. ISAM-GEN steering committee brainstormed and suggested the overall idea and gist of types of questions, and the officers were the ones to implement the concepts. Then the actual items listed were again back to the steering committee, and they gave their feedbacks and their viewpoints to refine the documents. And the final draft of the questionnaire was answered by officers themselves to ensure the reliability and stream of components. In this slide, you can see ISAM-GEN steering committee bearing the most scientific aspects of job and with the more precise facial details. And for the next slide, you can see ISAM-GEN officers who are doing the most executive part of the job. On the survey outline, this data collective tool consists of demographics questions, and they ask for about a variety of opioids used in the market and opioid use disorder treatments available, harm reduction policies, and last but not least, the survey contribution rate. In ISAM-GEN, 3 different targets for data collections are defined. First, it's individual experts, national societies and associations, and treatment centers. But for this project, as a novel approach, we ask addiction medicine societies presidents and representatives to provide us with formerly mentioned information. The platform used to draw information was this time a Google form, but due to some limitations for the next step, we are developing a platform of our own with which each survey respondent would have a profile with a report of the survey he or she was involved in, and we could then provide the experts with precise follow-ups and the answers, etc. We are looking at on this part actually foremost at the moment. And as ethics necessitates, each expert was firstly provided with consent letter with details on what does the research involve, why you were chosen for this research, consenting to participate in projects and withdrawing from the research, possible benefits and risks of participation, confidentiality, storage of data, results, and complaints. Our preliminary database of societies we had collaborations with consisted of 42 societies from ISAM Regional Council database, which is actually growing over time. The first invitations actually were sent on July 2022, 8 reminders were sent afterwards, and the last reminder was sent on March 2023. And on this slide, you can find ISAM affiliated societies, which is yet actually to be updated. Meanwhile, the target population was not limited to ISAM affiliated societies for this project only. And on this map, you can see the survey respondents. Actually, Indonesia, and Nigeria, and Portugal has also very recently filled out the form, but are not unfortunately on the map still. And here you can find more about the behind the scene activities and having sent invitation emails, reminders, and the timings for each, etc. And now here I'm going to give you a snapshot of the initial results of the pilot survey. As I mentioned before, the very first section of the survey has covered questions on varieties of opioids being used in 2021 in different participating countries. The three major questions were on use of opioids in general, prescription opioids in more details, and other opioids. We definitely report these results with caution due to limited sources, but as you can see, prescription opioids and heroin have been reported to be the most used opioids in general, while tramadol and codeine are the most reported in prescription opioids itself. Our data shows that the variety of different prescription opioids are much more in North America and Oceania. For example, tapentadol and dihydrocodeine are mostly reported in those countries. China has also reported most of the prescription opioids being widely available for non-medical use. There seems to be enough knowledge between the societies on the use of other types of opioids, such as new plant-based opioids in 2021. And moving forward to the next section on treatment and treatment facilities for opioid use disorder, it appears that community-level outpatient clinics are the most used treatment settings in the context of opioid use disorder, followed by inpatient and long-term residential settings. Shelters are reported to be among the least settings available, especially between our African and Australian respondents. The variety of treatment types are much less in Africa and South American respondent societies. Short-term inpatient withdrawal and self-help groups are the most reported types of treatment for opioid use disorder. Regarding the available medication types, most of respondents have basically reported methadone and buprenorphine available in their countries. Other types of medications, such as slow-release oral morphine and heroin, are mostly seen to be used in some of the European countries and Canada. Following that, motivational interviewing, CBT, and family therapy are among the most popular psychosocial interventions of opioid use disorder between the respondent countries. And almost all of them have those available. And last but not least, on treatment facilities, 12-step programs seem to be limitedly available between our African, Asian, and some of the European respondent societies countries, which in North and South America countries and Oceania, 12-step programs are reported to be available almost nationwide. Now moving on to the harm reduction questions of the survey, it appears that almost all of the European and South American respondent countries and the Oceania have health system supports for almost all patients on hepatitis and HIV treatment programs. This is while the rest of the respondents have also reported the available support for the patients, but in somehow a lower extent. And here in this slide, you can see that HIV testing, antiretroviral therapy, TB, and STI diagnosis, and treatments, educational materials, and HPV vaccination seem to be all available across the respondent countries. The variety of available settings for harm reduction services are more in the European and North American and Oceania countries. Most reported available setting for harm reduction are treatment centers as inpatient units. Following that, outreach teams and drop-in centers are reported to be the most available. But how to contribute? We're eagerly recruiting addiction medicine experts all over the world. If you're interested to get involved in more international collaborations, you can scan the QR code and we contact you for the recruitment phase, and we look forward to your national data for the upcoming surveys. Thank you. That was it for today. Thank you for your attention.